The following talk was given at the Insight Meditation Center in Redwood City, California. Please visit our website at audiodharma.org.
Good afternoon, everybody. We want to continue another session of talks on Mahasatipatthana Sutta. As I have mentioned earlier, this is a very big sutta, very important sutta. It takes entire lifetime to study and practice this sutta. Therefore, to give a summary of it is not very easy. However, within this short period, I try to give a brief account of the rest of the discourse. This morning I focused on the introduction to the sutta. Then I explained 5 purposes and then 4 clear comprehensions, and I also mentioned what the world means, and I spent some time explaining our domain, that is this 5 aggregates, what we call Panchakhanda. So out of this evolved the rest of the discourse, the practice. First is mindfulness of the body. Mindfulness of the body is divided into 6 classes, 6 groups. First group is mindfulness of breathing. Second group is mindfulness of the postures. Third is mindfulness of detail of the posture, which is called clear comprehension, which is not the title of the sutta itself, but not even subtitle of the sutta, but it is classified as clear comprehension. Fourth is mindfulness of the parts of the body, 32 parts of the body. Fifth is mindfulness of the 4 elements, and the 6th is mindfulness of the process of corpse after death. Now let us take one of them first, that is mindfulness of breathing. By the way, as I mentioned earlier, I want to repeat these very important instructions again and again for us to have some better understanding of this practice. Although these things are mentioned in this order, in our experience they don't occur in this order. They don't happen in this order. In order to, as a teaching method, teaching techniques, the list is given. When you list something, you have to list them in certain way, not exactly in the way of priority. This list is not the priority list. But as in order to teach, these things are listed like this. In experience, we experience in a very random, sporadic way. So as things happen, we become mindful of them. And don't try to arrange them in a certain order. It never happens. Just like when you arrange your kitchen, you put your big meat cutting knife in one place, and then other knives in other places, and very fine knife to mince your onion you put in another place, a small spoon, big spoon, your tongs, your forks, and frying pan, wok, and big pots and small pots and so forth. You put them in the kitchen, arrange in certain way, put even numbers, and arrange them in the number, according to number, and hang them on those hooks as you numbered. Suppose you have big knives first, and then knives according to their sizes, then pots and pan according to their sizes, and forks according to their sizes, tongs according to their sizes, and so forth. You put them in that order. When you go to the kitchen, you want to boil on only 1 cup of water. You don't reach the number 1, which is big pot. You reach the small pot, because that time you need only a small pot to boil 1 cup of water. Similarly, in practice, we don't practice according to in the way they are listed. We practice as they happen. Remember this. However, in all meditation instructions in the Buddha, one thing he always mentioned as number 1 is breathing. So when we do anything, we become aware of the breath first. When we become mindful, we become aware of the breath first. There's a reason for that. Reason is, when we are mindful of the breathing, it opens your mind to other areas very easily. For example, when you focus them on the breath, you become easily aware of your body, feeling, perceptions, volitional formations and consciousness which are involved in breathing. For example, the breath is the body. I mentioned this in the morning. Breath is the body. Why it is called body? Body has certain attributes, qualities, characters. What are the attributes of the body? What is the body made up of? It is made up of elements. Earth element, water element, fire element and air element. The breath is made up of these 4 elements. And how do we know elements? We don't know elements. You cannot pinpoint, you put your finger on elements. Although we talk about elements, have you seen earth element? Have you seen water element? Air element? Fire element? No. we can see earth element in combination of many other things, and therefore you cannot separate earth element. But we can become aware of the earth element through its characteristics. What are the characteristics of earth element? It is either hard or soft. If something is hard or soft, that indicates it has earth element. For instance, when we breathe in and out, we feel the touch of breath. The touch is there because of the presence of earth element. And then we feel the breath. Then we have the breath is sometimes dry or sometimes wet. Knowing these two, we know that the breath has water element. Sometimes breath is dry, sometimes breath is hot, sometimes it is cool. Then through this characteristic we know breath has heat element, fire element. And breath is moving in and out, therefore we know breath is air element. Since all these four elements are present in the breath, we know the breath is a form, body. So we know the body or form aggregate. Through these elements we know through their characteristics. So when you know one, you can see the other easily related to each other. When we use the breath, we also feel the breath. That is a feeling aggregate. There is no way to know the breath except through the feelings. Sometimes we feel pleasant breath, sometimes not pleasant. We feel sometimes long breath, sometimes short breath. When we breathe in and out, when the lungs are full, we experience a degree of tension because we cannot breathe anymore. That is a feeling of tension. And then when we breathe out, that tension is released, then we experience the relief of tension. That is another feeling. We feel the expansion and contraction of a lung area. That is another feeling. So, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neutral feeling, all the feelings are there in the breath. That is a feeling aggregate. And also we see perception. We have to perceive all these things in order to... Perception means recognition. We recognize the touch, we recognize the sensation, we recognize the expansion and contraction, we recognize the tension and release of tension and so forth. All these are our perceptions. Therefore that is perception aggregate. And we do all these things with intention. In order to know all these things, we do intention. So that is called intentional attention, paying to the breath, is called volitional formations. And also, we are fully aware of it. That is consciousness aggregate. So all the five aggregates are involved in breathing. What we do in vipassana meditation is, there is a chorus, I must say, like in your singing, you have a chorus. What is the chorus? We become aware of rising, falling, rising, falling. Samudaya dhammanupassīva kāyasmiṃ viharati, vaya dhammanupassīva kāyasmiṃ viharati. We live becoming aware of rising, we live becoming aware of falling. The word viharati also is very important. Viharati means lives. So many a time people use the meditation and say, you got to sit to meditate. And sitting and meditation has become so synonymous that these days, especially in the West, people instead of calling meditation groups, they simply say sitting groups, assuming meditation is something you do only in sitting. If sitting is meditation, when you are in the office you are sitting, working on computers. When you are sitting on your driver's seat, driving. And when you do hundreds of things, sometimes very meaningless, sometimes unwholesome things, you are just sitting. So sitting should not be equated with meditation. Therefore, sitting group is not correct term, because you assume that you have to sit to meditate. Meditation, especially mindfulness meditation, can be done in any posture. So the being mindful, aware of all these things, you live. Kaye kayanupassi viharati. Viharati means living. So we live with mindfulness. Living does not mean sitting in one place. Living means getting involved in countless activities. So being involved in countless activities, we become mindful. So in every activity, in every place, we breathe. And therefore when we become mindful of the breath, we can use that awareness, that mindfulness in any posture. And therefore this is called the primary object of meditation. That is the object of breath. Breath is the object. And breath is the object of meditation or subject of meditation of Prince Siddhartha before he attained enlightenment. Remember when he was sitting under the rose apple tree while there was a ploughing festival. As a little child, the nurses took him there and put under the rose apple tree, and they joined the ploughing festival. When they came back, they saw him sitting and meditating. What he did was he used the breath and gained concentration. So he started using the breath even as a little child. When he sat to attain enlightenment under the Bodhi tree at the age of 20 and 35, he started using the breath. After attaining enlightenment, one day Venerable Ananda asked the Buddha, Venerable Sir, if people ask me whether what subject you use for meditation, Buddha said, tell them I use the breath. And if they ask you again what subject I use, whether I meditate after attainment of enlightenment, tell them, yes, I am still meditating. And then if they ask again what subject I use to meditate after attaining enlightenment, tell them I am still using the breath. Why it is so important? Breath is it is called in Pali Pana. Pana means life. Panati pata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami, we say, where Pana means life. Breathing is called Pana. Ana, Pana. Inhaling and exhaling. Breath inhale, breath exhale. Therefore Pana is life. It is very true. What we do, we bring oxygen. Without oxygen, can we live? No. We have to breathe oxygen in and out, in all the time, in order to live. And therefore, the breath is used as a primary object for many reasons. So in mindfulness meditation, we become aware of it. And become aware of rising and falling. Rising and falling also is very important. There are 3 words. Be mindful of rising, be mindful of falling, be mindful of rising and falling. If you remember the passage in Adama, mindfulness of breathing or Satipatthana Sutta, it says, Samudaya dhammanupassīva kāyasmiṃ viharati, vaya dhammanupassīva kāyasmiṃ viharati, samudaya vaya dhammanupassīva kāyasmiṃ viharati. That means we live being mindful of rising, we live being mindful of falling, we live being mindful of rising and falling. Sometimes people translate this as one time you become mindful of rising, another time you become mindful of falling, another time you become mindful of rising and falling. That means today you practice mindfulness of rising and wait till tomorrow to be mindful of falling, and another day to become mindful of rising and falling. You can take a week, month, year to practice these 3 according to that interpretation. That's a completely wrong interpretation. The truth is, here is the important thing of knowing the dhamma. And Buddha said, bhikkhus, Teenimani bhikkave sankatassa sankata lakkani khatamani teni uppado panyayati vayo panyayati titassa anyatattang panyayati. Bhikkhus, there are 3 characteristics of all conditioned things. What are they? Their rising is perceptible, knowable. Their falling is perceptible and knowable, and their mutation between rising and falling, they are mutate, they are change, they change. That also is perceptible and knowable. You know, mutation takes place from the moment of embryo, very first time you have a unicellular being conceived in the mother's womb. It started mutating from that moment, changing. So, we become aware of these 3 stages of sankhara. Breath is a sankhara. Of course, the word sankhara is used in the wider sense here. Everything is sankhara. Everything that has this characteristic, rising, falling, and mutation, they are called uppada, thiti, bhanga. Rising moment, peak moment, as passing away moment. Rising moment is changing, peak moment is changing, and passing away moment is changing. Peak moment is not a static moment. Peak moment also is continuous change. So when you breathe in and out, in one breath, you can see rising moment and peak moment and passing away moment hundreds of times in one inhaling and hundreds of times in one exhaling. In one inhaling you can see hundreds of times rising, run hundreds of times falling and hundreds of times rising and falling. I give you an example. One day, 3 bhikkhus came to see the Buddha. This is an example of death. One bhikkhu said to the Buddha, Venerable Sir, if I live long enough to collect my alms food and eat it, and that time is long enough for me to attain enlightenment. Second monk said, Venerable Sir, if I live long enough to eat the food that I have in my alms bowl, that time is enough for me to attain enlightenment. Third monk said, Venerable Sir, if I live long enough to take one inhaling and one exhaling, that is enough time for me to attain enlightenment. Then Buddha praised this monk, the last one. Why? He is the one who sees this rising, falling, and rising and falling in one breath, in one inhaling and one exhaling. That means mindfulness of impermanence of this monk is so sharp, so deep, so profound that he would see rising, falling, rising and falling in one breath. So, every time we breathe in and out, we should be fully aware of the entire breathing process and entire rising, falling and falling in each breath. That sounds very subtle, difficult. Friends, I assure you, if you practice, you really will see this phenomena in your mindfulness breathing. So Buddha started with the breath for this reason. One who is of first category of those 4 people I mentioned this morning, Uggatitanya, quick-witted person, that person needs only one inhaling, one exhaling, even to attain full enlightenment. He doesn't need too long, too much explanation. So in Mahasatipatthana Sutta begins with this exercise of mindfulness of breathing for this reason. And then you don't have to do anything deliberately except paying total attention without saying anything in words. Don't say, I inhale long, I inhale, exhale long, I inhale short, or I inhale, exhale short. Don't say that in words. Simply be aware of long inhaling as long inhaling, without subject predicate. When you use the subject predicate I, subject, inhale, exhale is predicate. Without this distinction between subject and predicate, simply be aware of inhaling and exhaling, as if it happenings both as one. That means the one who breathes in and out, and one who becomes aware of it must be one. Don't separate these two. When we separate, we tend to use words, concepts, ideas, labels, and simply become totally involved in the breathing. Then, when the breath becomes short, we become aware of the same way. Now the breath is short, become fully aware of it, inhaling and exhaling. Then we become aware of the whole breath body. What is the whole breath body? That is the beginning, middle and end of each breath body, each breath. That means when we breathe in, when the very first time the breath touches the rims of our nostrils, we become aware of that very beginning. And then the breath continues to flow into the lungs until the lungs are full. That whole stretch of inhaling breath is the middle of inhaling. And then when the lungs are full, inhaling stops. Inhaling cuts off. That is the end of inhaling. And we become aware of that. And then exhaling begins. And we become aware of the beginning of exhaling. And then the whole stretch of exhaling breath till the end of it is the middle of exhaling. We become aware of that. When exhaling, when there is no more breath in our lungs, exhaling cuts off. That is the end of exhaling. We become aware of that. This is unmistakable, unconfusing repetition of breath each time we breathe in and out. They will never confuse, never mix up. That always is in that order. We become aware of that. And each time we become aware of it, we see this rising, falling, and rising and falling. When we become aware of the whole breath body. And then what happens? When we are totally aware of that, mind is totally lodged in the breath, and the body and mind become so relaxed, calm and peaceful. It naturally happens. Friends, it is not just that quick, but that is what naturally happens. When the body and mind becomes calm and relaxed and peaceful, then one hindrance arises. Now hindrances are mentioned at the dhamma. One of the 5 categories of dhamma is mindfulness of hindrances. Now while practicing mindfulness of breathing, we experience hindrances. One hindrance is very common thing. When everything is calm, relaxed and peaceful, we feel sleepy, drowsy. We don't have to wait until the entire 4 foundations of mindfulness is over to experience hindrances. It happens at the very beginning. That is why I said, although the things are arranged in certain order, they don't happen in that order. So we have to be mindful in the way as they happen. So when the body and mind are relaxed, Buddha said, be becoming aware of a relaxed Passam bhayam kaya sankarang asasisami sikkati, passam bhayam kaya sankaram passisami sikkati. Being aware of relaxed the body and mind, you breathe in and out. Being aware of relaxed body and mind, you breathe in and out. That is mindfulness. But when we try to be aware of relaxed mind and body, instead of becoming aware of relaxed mind and body, we become unaware of relaxed mind and body. As a result, we fall asleep. Then Sometimes we sit for 1 hour. At the end of the hour, we ring the bell. The person who is in this deep meditation wakes up and said, I had a wonderful meditation. I was in the 4th jhana. I didn't feel anything, I didn't hear anything. You talked for the whole hour, I did not hear anything because I was in deep concentration, highest jhana. Now, and this is a hindrance. Especially, there are a lot of hindrances. Here, particularly this hindrance of sleepiness and drowsiness is very common, especially in affluent societies. Because when you come to meditate, you have 2 cushions under your knee, each knee, and 3 cushions to sit on, and 4 cushions to lean against. The room is air-conditioned, and there is no noise. It's soundproof, and it's comfortable in summer with air condition, and comfortable in winter with heat, and so forth. Everything is very, very good to have this hindrance of sleepiness and drowsiness. So the mindful meditator don't wait until the last foundation of mindfulness to practice, to experience this particular mental state. It happens at the very beginning. So we have to overcome that. Friends, that is a subject by itself. It takes a long time to explain how to overcome these hindrances, how they arise and so forth. Anyway, you begin with mindfulness of breathing, and as hindrances arise, as they arise, as not as they listed. In the hindrances also listed as first kama chanda, vyapada, thinamidda, uddhacha kukucha, vichikiccha and so forth, listed in that order. But they don't happen in that order. As they happen, you deal with them. And then again, you use your chorus all the time. Every moment you breathe in and out, you use the chorus. What is the chorus? Become aware of rising phenomena, falling phenomena, and rising and falling phenomena. In mindfulness meditation, these 3 things have to be repeated millions of times. And these 3 things are the core or heart of vipassana meditation. That means we become fully aware of impermanence, anicca, unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, and selflessness, anatta. Seeing anicca, dukkha, anatta are the main thrust of vipassana meditation. So whether you are breathing, inhaling, exhaling, whether you experience perceptions, volitional formations, consciousness and mind and so forth, you become aware of these 3 things. As I said then, next, the second class of the mindfulness of the body is the posture. As I said, meditation, mindfulness meditation is not confined only to sitting meditation. That is why the Buddha mentioned the posture. Postures are 4: sitting, standing, walking, lying down. We have to use all of them to become aware of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness of the body. Everything we experience must be used to understand impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness, anicca, dukkha, anatta. So, in posture, all these 4 postures should be practiced equally. It is like balancing or aligning your wheels of your vehicle. When you go for wheel alignment, you don't align only one wheel. only or two. You have to align, balance all the four wheels in order to make the vehicle run smoothly. Similarly, in order to carry on your meditation practice properly and become aware of mindfulness, of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness, use every posture, sitting, standing, walking, lying down, equally distributing your time in all of them. And then the third is clear comprehension of activities. Sitting, standing, walking, lying down, also activities. These are very small number. Then Buddha went on expanding this into the third mindfulness practice. Third is clear comprehension, as I mentioned this morning. Clear comprehension of walking forward and walking backward. Walking backward doesn't mean that you walk backward, facing one direction and you walk back. No. Walking backward means you return to the same place where you started. And then, that is in walking meditation particularly, using your total mindfulness, always to see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness in walking forward, and to see the same thing when you walk backward. And then, when you turn your head in one direction or to the other direction, you remain mindful. And sometimes there's a great misunderstanding about that also. There is a discourse in Majjhima Nikaya. In that discourse, I just try to remember the name of the discourse. Anyway, this is the point. If I remember the name, I tell you the name, otherwise just remember the incident. A man went to see the Buddha to verify the things that he had heard of the Buddha. Buddha was very famous. He was reputed for being fully enlightened and so forth. And he was watching the Buddha. He was watching the Buddha walking forward and turning and walking backward. When the Buddha, he watched and he saw Buddha walking very mindfully, and then he turned very slowly, mindfully, in the way I explained this morning, and walked back. And this man saw at one point Buddha's entire body was turning along with the head. So he concluded that the Buddha did not turn his head without turning the body. That means the Buddha always turned the body and the head at the same time. So his conclusion was that Buddha never turned his head to see something without turning his body. Normally that doesn't happen. unless you have stiff neck. And when you are sitting, if you want to, turn your head somewhere to see something, while sitting, you don't turn your whole body. I mean, it's impossible to turn the whole posture, sitting posture. You have to turn your head. When he saw this Buddha turning his entire body and head, at one point when he was turning in his walking meditation, he concluded incorrectly, mistakenly, that the Buddha would not turn his head without turning the body. And he compared it to an elephant. Because when elephant, Buddha always compared to elephant. When the elephant, I don't know whether you have seen it, when the elephant turns, he turns his head, especially when a lion is approaching the elephant. Elephant want to protect his neck. In order to protect the neck, elephant turn his head, the body along with the neck, along with the head. Because the lion jumps onto his neck. Neck is the smallest vital organ in the elephant, so that lion can sink his canine teeth into elephant's arteries to immobilize him. Elephant knows that. Therefore, when the elephant turns, when the lion approaches, elephant turns towards lion with the body. That means he covers the neck with the body. When he turns with the body, he covers his neck with his body. So the lion cannot grab his neck. In order to protect the neck, elephant do that. So this man concluded that the Buddha was like elephant, does not turn his head without turning the body. But the meaning of that is that Buddha was always mindful when he turned, and he is like an elephant. He always remained mindful, and he used mindfulness for turning his body and head in the walking meditation. So it is called Satipatthana Givhoso. That means Buddha's mindfulness is like elephant protecting his neck. Buddha's mindfulness kept him always in a safe position. He would never lose it. In order to show how deep the Buddha's mindfulness is, this simile is used in the discourse. That means when we turn, we have to turn with mindfulness. When we stand with mindfulness, and when we walk with mindfulness. That means the key in all these activities is mindfulness, remaining mindful. And that is why I mentioned this morning that the purpose of the practice is to remain mindful, to achieve the purpose. Even after achieving the purpose, we remain mindful, as the Buddha did. Then, sitting, standing, walking, lying down, eating, drinking, wearing clothes, answering the call of nature and speaking and whatever activities we are engaged, we must remain mindful. Modern term, some people say that they give very famous example of washing dishes. When you wash dishes, you must be mindful. What kind of mindfulness they want them to have when they wash dishes? Pay attention to your washing dishes. Pay attention to washing dishes so that you will not leave any dirt on the dish. If that is mindfulness, then all these dishwashers in restaurants are practicing mindfulness. That is not the kind of mindfulness we should practice. While washing dishes or while engaged in any activity, we must be mindful of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness. We must be mindful of what kind of mental state arises at that time, whether greed, hatred or delusion, or generosity, loving-friendliness, compassion, appreciative joy, or wisdom, saddha, faith, and perseverance, energy, and determination to stay with the practice, and so forth. When these are the things that we have to be mindful while we are engaged in our activities. While washing dishes, greed can arise, hatred can arise, confusion can arise, fear can arise, and uncertainty can arise, jealousy can arise. We become mindful of it right then and there to get rid of that. And we can see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness. So we always must return to the very true dhamma, the reality, established dhamma, dhamma element as Buddha said. Dhamma element, established dhamma, which exists whether the Buddhas come into existence or not. These things are happening to us all the time. That is the kind of mindfulness we should have while engaged in any activity. Going always back to our root. That is where we need mindful attention, what is called yoniso manasikara. I use very good Buddha's own example to illustrate mindful reflection, what you call yoniso manasikara. Yoniso manasikara has a very profound, deep meaning. We can understand the meaning through similes. The Buddha simile is simile of dog and lion. That is, when you throw a stick or rock to a dog, dog will run at the stick or the rock and pick it up. But if you throw a rock or stick to a lion, lion will not run after the stick or the rock, lion will run after you. Who threw the stick? Mindful reflection is like a lion going to the root. It is called yoniso manasikara. Yoni means origin, beginning. Manasikara means reflection. Beginning is the beginning of roots. What are the roots? 3 unwholesome roots, 3 wholesome roots. And you will see whether this particular mental state arose from greed, from hatred, or from delusion, or whether it arose from non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. Always go to the root, the origin of this particular mental state. The dog will run after the stick. Similarly, unmindful reflection will go after the symptoms. When greed arises, you promote greed, thinking, wonderful, Very nice, beautiful, you appreciate, keep appreciating. Wrong thing. You bet the wrong horse and keep going on betting on the wrong horse and get carried away. That is unmindful reflection. So Buddha said, unmindful reflection nourish the root of unwholesome things. Mindful reflection suffocate unwholesome roots. Cut off all the oxygen to unwholesome roots. So it will die. Mindful reflection give lifeline to unwholesome things and pump more oxygen to it to live. So when we walk, stand, lie down, talk, especially when we talk, we got to talk mindfully. And when we listen, we must listen mindfully. When we talk mindfully, we even can attain enlightenment. When we listen mindfully, we can attain enlightenment. And that is why listening to Dhamma is one of the three factors of attaining the stream entry. That is called yomiso, what is called paratoghosa paccaya. Paratoghosa paccaya means the factor or the cause of hearing the sound of others. Ghosa means sound. Not any sound of jazz, of rock and roll, but the sound of Dhamma. When you hear the Dhamma, mindfully you can attain stream entry. There's a beautiful saying in, there are many incidents, but sometimes this sort of pithy statements help us to remember the meaning. This story is recorded in Samyutta Nikaya commentary, which was written in Sri Lanka. It says, Dahamata sari kota eluven peraki kaviyata sita pahada sita nisaki sihi kota kanda pili vela dos noyeki nivanata sapamini sangha sata namaki. That is, having listened to a song composed on Dhamma, 60 monks attain enlightenment. A woman sang a song composed on Dhamma. 60 monks were walking in a forest. First they heard the sound. And since the woman's voice was an temptation for the man, Buddha said that in Anguttara Nikaya, Naham bhikkhave anyang eka saddhampi samanupasami yatedang itiru iti saddhang iti saddhang bhikkhave purusas vittam paryadaya tittati. Because I don't know any other sound that captured the ears of man other than the sound of a woman. And that goes the other way around also. And therefore these monks, since they had not attained enlightenment, as soon as they heard the sound of this singing, their ear went there and they were listening and walking. And as they approached, they began to understand the word. They heard the word very distinctly. And then they contemplated mindfully on the meaning of the words. And these are real Dhamma song. And they contemplated on that. They forgot about the female's voice of femaleness, voice of the sweetness. Although that was the beginning of paying their attention, But gradually their mindfulness delve into the depth of the meaning of what they recited and attain enlightenment. And therefore, Buddha said, with clear comprehension, with yoniso manasikara, we must listen to the sound of dhamma. That will be helpful to attain enlightenment. Of course, there are 5 ways of attaining enlightenment. One is listening. Second is teaching. While teaching, you can attain enlightenment. There is a story in Samyutta Nikaya called Khemaka Sutta. Venerable Khemaka was an elderly monk, and he was explaining Dhamma to a group of other elderly monks. And when he was teaching Dhamma to other elderly monks, all these monks listening to this Dhamma sermon of this Venerable Khemaka, they all attain enlightenment. And Venerable Khemaka also attain enlightenment at the same time. This is one incident we can see in the Buddha's teaching where both the teacher, preacher, as well as the audience attain enlightenment at the same time. So Buddha said, even teaching Dhamma with deep understanding, deep concentration, very clear vision, one can attain enlightenment. Third method is chanting. When you select meaningful discourse, like Dhamma Chakrapavatana Sutta, you read Dhamma Chakrapavatana Sutta with and understand the meaning and recite it very mindfully with total devotion and dedication, you can attain the stream entry. How it happens? The mind becomes so calm, relaxed and peaceful, tranquil, you gain concentration. With the concentrated mind, you can see the depth of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness in the minutest, subtlest way, and then gain insight, wisdom, attain enlightenment. Fourth way is taking a very deep Dhamma discourse and investigate the meaning with deep understanding. That also leads to attain the stage of enlightenment. Fifth way is what we call meditation. Taking a subject of meditation like Anapanasati Sutta, Mahasatipatthana Sutta, and practice, you attain enlightenment. So, for these reasons, Buddha said, when you walk, when you talk, when you listen, when you eat, when you drink, wear clothes, answer the call of nature, always maintain your mindfulness of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness of the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perceptions, volitional formations and consciousness, to gain deeper insight to attain enlightenment. Anytime you can attain it. You don't have to practice everything to attain enlightenment. You need only one of these 21 subjects mentioned in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. He repeated this instruction 21 times in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. The chorus, Samudaya Dhammanupassīva kāyasmiñ vihārati, Vaya Dhammanupassīva kāyasmiñ vihārati, Samudaya Dhammanupassīva kāyasmiñ vihārati. Similarly, he mentioned this about feelings, mental, consciousness and mental activities, all are divided into these groups. Anyway, that is the second aspect of the Kaya Anupassana, mindfulness of the body. What is the first? Mindfulness of, this is the third. Mindfulness of breathing is one. Mindfulness is the posture is second. Mindfulness of clear comprehension of walking, standing, turning, bending, wearing clothes and engaging in any activity. We perform countless activities every single day. If we perform all these activities with total mindfulness, any moment, any time, any day, we can attain stages of enlightenment. And the fourth group in mindfulness of the body is dividing the body into 32 parts and take them and focus your mind to gain insight. This is another controversial subject, mostly misunderstood part of 4 foundations of mindfulness. And it is invariably listed in many places as mindfulness practice to overcome lust. Overcome lust. The word used in Pali is, for this particular practice section, is called Patikula Manasikara. Patikula Manasikara. Patikula, when we understand the opposite of patikula, then we understand the meaning of patikula. Opposite of patikula is anukula. Anukula means going with the grain, going with the current. Patikula means going against the current, against the grain. What is anukula? Anukula means, what is anukula practice? Going with the grain. The body is beautiful. Body is beautiful. That is the normal belief. Normal belief is body is beautiful. This is Buddha called asubhe subhasanya, distorted perception. Asubhe subhasanya. That which is not beautiful, we consider it to be beautiful. Of course, this is a very difficult subject. Many people even get upset and get up and walk away, saying that, how can you say that? The whole world knows the body is beautiful. And we want to make it even more beautiful. And we want to make the whole cosmetic industry very rich to maintain this beauty. It is beautiful and we want to maintain it. How can you say that it is not beautiful? People will be, up in arm against me if I say it in public. Against the Buddha. When I was in the Bhikkhu training, missionary training school in Sri Lanka, my teacher, very learned, very insightful, wonderful teacher, he cautioned us, warned us against this topic. He said, if you happen to go to the West, don't talk about patikula manasikara. You will be thrown to death, stoned to death, because people don't like that. Unfortunately, I happen to be here, I had to talk about it. So, anukula is that we consider the body to be beautiful. When we look at the body mindfully, insightfully, it is not so. I tell you a little bit more about it later. Then, that is anukula. Patikula means going against that. Don't think that way. We know Our hair is beautiful. And when we have bushy, healthy, protein-rich hair, we are so proud of our hair. And we spend a lot of time spending to make the hair more beautiful. When you go somewhere, the first thing you do is go to the beauty shop, what you call hairdresser, and get your hair done. Of course, when we go out, we shave our head, and no hair is there. So, this hair is beautiful, clean, shampoo, wash, and so forth and so on. Beautiful hair. Everybody first, when they look at somebody, the first thing they see is the hair. So, they have to make, therefore, their head look beautiful. And after washing, cleaning, shampooing, and making it, sanitized and so forth, you eat your soup. One hair from your own head falls into the bowl of soup. What would you do? You say, yuck! You throw the whole bowl of soup away. Where did this hair come from? From your own beautiful hair. From your own head. When it was on the head, it is so beautiful. When it falls into a bowl of soup, it is so ugly. Where is the beauty? So, if you mindfully reflect, it doesn't matter whether hair is on the head or in the bowl of soup. You treat the hair exactly the same way. You just take the hair out and throw it away and eat your soup. That's not going to kill you. Because you have cleaned your hair, washed it, shampooed it, sanitized it. It is clean. So what is the wrong with throwing away that hair and eating your soup? But we don't have that perception. This is called distorted perception. So when we practice mindfulness, we go against it. That is called patikula manasikara. You don't hate hair or you don't love it. You treat it as something impermanent. When you have misunderstanding of this, either you hate it or you become attached to it. I tell you an example, a story. Venerable Sariputta had a student who was full of lust. And Venerable Sariputta gave him this subject to practice mindfulness of loathsomeness of body. Or patikula manasikara, meditate on 32 parts of the body. This monk went and sat under a tree and focused on this subject. Instead of weakening his lust increased. Perhaps he was focusing his mind on wrong body. Anyway, he came back to Venerable Sariputta and reported this to him. And Venerable said, it doesn't work. My lust increases. And he said, no, go, practice, use this. This is the subject that you need. You are full of lust. Second time he tried, didn't work. Third time he tried, didn't work. Then finally Venerable Sariputta said, okay, let us go to the Buddha. This teaches us another very good lesson. Venerable Sariputta was Buddha's one of the two chief disciples, fully enlightened Arahant. Venerable Sariputta was known for his wisdom. When the Buddha gave a short sermon and asked the bhikkhus to go and get explanation from Venerable Sariputta. Because Sariputta was such a wonderful Dhamma teacher. You can read in Majjhima Nikaya, Sammaditthi Sutta and so forth, to see Venerable Sariputta's wisdom. Even that Venerable Sariputta was not able to give an appropriate subject for meditation to his own disciple. So nowadays people say, people give subject for meditation to people. Even Venerable Sariputta could not do that. Only the Buddha gave subject of meditation quite appropriate to the personality. So when Venerable Sariputta took this disciple to the Buddha, at very first look at this monk, Buddha knew exactly what subject he needs. So he picked up a lotus, just the opposite of 32 impurities of the body, 32 parts of the body, just the opposite. Lotus, beautiful, very fresh, dripping water, very sweet fragrance. And sometimes, people commented and said that the Buddha created lotus flower and gave him. Friends, if you know the reality, Buddha did not have to create any flower. Why? Every day people came to see the Buddha with flowers. And his chamber was full of flowers. That's why his chamber is called perfume chamber, Gandha Kuti. Buddha's chamber is called Gandha Kuti because it was full of fragrance of fresh flowers that people brought. So he just picked one of those fresh lotus, and gave to this monk and said, there is a pond. Stick this lotus in the ground and focus your mind on it. Of course, while he was doing it, some children also came and picked some lotus flowers and put there. And he was focusing on this lotus flower, so beautiful, full of fragrance, fresh and dripping water, and so beautiful. While he was focusing his mind on the flower, it slowly dried, withered, faded, color disappeared. It faded and dropped dead. Of course, in the scorching sun. It happened very quickly while he was watching. Then he realized impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and selflessness, and attained enlightenment. You see? So, the patikula manasikara should be used with impartial attitude, unbiased attitude, with the equanimity. If you practice mindfulness of 32 parts of the body, there is a possibility of arising hatred. You begin to hate the body. Or there is a possibility of arising lust. Your lust can arouse. There is another story, Kayagata Sati Sutta. As I mentioned this morning, Kayagata Sati Sutta is another meditation sutta. Buddha taught this sutta to bhikkhus and went for his own retreat. When he came back, during his absence, what happened? These monks who were not enlightened, meditating on the 32 parts of the body, and then they felt just like dead corpse hanging around their neck, and they feel so disgusted, so disappointed. They did not want to live because they saw the body is so ugly, so loathsome, so dirty and so forth. And then there was a sham monastic called Migalanda. And one monk approached him and said, you do me a favor. Take my robes, take my alms balls, and you can make little money, sell in the market, and take this razor, straight razor, and cut my throat. I don't want to live with this ugly body, dirty body. Cut my throat. This man, with some hesitation, was thinking, how can I do that? How can I do it? Then when this monk said, you can get some money, make little money by selling my robes and alms ball. Then thought, yeah, that is not a bad idea. I can make little money. So he cut his throat, sold these things, and then he got taste of getting money and went from kuti to kuti, asking monks, you want to attain enlightenment quickly? I can send you to enlightenment very quickly. So if they volunteered, he cut their heads. When Buddha returned from his retreat, he found the number of monks reduced. He asked Venerable Ananda, what happened? Venerable Ananda said, this is what happened. They became so loathful of their body. They feel the body was so ugly, dirty. They killed themselves, committed suicide. Then Buddha immediately called the meeting of monks and gave another sermon. That's called Anapanasati Sutta. That is the commentarial explanation. But anyway, this is another extreme. Therefore, when we practice mindfulness of the 32 parts of the body, we must remain equanimous. And there is another beautiful discourse in the same Majjhima Nikaya. This is called Indriya Bhavana Sutta. Indriya Vibhanga Sutta. Last 10 groups of suttas. And there Buddha said, when unattractive, loathsome object arises, one should be able to practice equanimity. So there are various ways of practicing equanimity. And this is one object that we must use to practice to gain equanimity. Equanimity is a wonderful subject. Equanimity is very powerful, our mindfulness becomes pure. That is why you can see in the fourth jhana, when you attain the fourth jhana, your mindfulness becomes pure due to the presence of equanimity. Upekha sati parisuddhing chatutta jhanam upasampaddi viharati, Buddha said. Upekha sati parisuddhing. Sati parisuddhing, mindfulness becomes pure because of the presence of equanimity. So this subject of meditation should be used to develop your equanimity in order to purify your mindfulness. So that is one thing we must remember when we practice the fourth part of Kayagata, mindfulness of the body. And the fifth part is mindfulness of 4 elements. And before I go to that one, I must give you the Buddha's simile to illustrate the meaning that I mentioned. The simile he gave was a bag full of grains. Remember? Seyata bhikve mutoli pura nana vitasa danyasa salinang vihinam mugganang masanang tilanang tanulanang tamenang chakkuma puriso munchitva pasyati munchitva pachavekati. Ime sali, ime mugga, ime tila, ime tandula, and so forth. That means, just like a man, there is a bag of grains. Rice, dal, wheat, barley, hill rice, and so forth. That bag is mixed with all kind of grains. So somebody with clear eyesight, this is Uboto Mukha Mutolipura. This bag has 2 openings. Just like our bag. We keep one opening closed and open the other opening, and then we periodically open the other side. So this bag also has 2 openings, and which is full of various type of grains. And one with good eyesight open the bag and identify the grains inside the bag. When he identifies the grains inside the bag, he says, this is rice, this is barley, this is wheat, this is dal, this is mung dal, and so forth. He does not say that this is rice, I love rice. This is barley, I hate barley. He does not say that. Impartially, just like a scientist who investigates an object under a powerful microscope, just watch it to collect the data, the compositions, in the object, to collect the data without emotional reaction. So when we practice this particular part of meditation, we should not tell people to hate it or to love it. We must have the impartial, unbiased, equanimous attitude towards the parts of the body, to see them impermanent, unsatisfactory and selfless. Everything without any emotional reaction. This part is therefore very important part of mindfulness meditation. And then we go to the 5th class of mindfulness of the body. 5th class is 4 elements. 4 elements: earth, water, air, fire. This body is made up of these 4 elements. And Buddha gave a simile of how to practice impartial attitude towards these 4 parts, 4 elements. We lose the identity of the self, or trying to identify self with any of the parts. We just look at them as objects. Example Buddha gave there was, suppose somebody slaughter a cow. This is very interesting. In India, using this kind of simile is very weird in modern term, because India worship cows. And Buddha says that suppose somebody slaughtered the cow. This simply means that in the time of the Buddha, cows were slaughtered. People ate beef. When the Buddha introduced this non-violent dhamma, those beef eaters gave up eating beef, and then became non-violent. Anyway, since this practice was there, Buddha used this as an example. Suppose somebody slaughtered a cow and cut it up into 4 parts and display in crossroad. When this man raised the cow, he has the concept of cow. When he lead the cow to abattoir, slaughtering place, he has the perception of cow, concept of cow. After cutting it up, he doesn't have the perception of cow. He simply has the perception of beef. So when he sells, he does not sell cow. he sells beef. Sometimes some people who don't understand the meaning, they may mix up, they may use the same name. One day when I was in Sweden, 4 high school students, 3 Muslim girls and a boy came to pick me up to bring to their school to give a talk. On the way, one of the Muslim girls asked me, "Do you eat pigs?" She did not know the word the pork. She asked me, "Do you eat pig?" I said, "No." Then I asked her, "Do you?" She said, "I eat anything." So anyway, this is beside the point. Anyway, sometimes when we don't know the word, we use wrong word. So when he sells beef, after slaughtering the cow, he does not sell cow. He sells beef. His perception of cow perception is completely vanished from his mind. Similarly, when we analyze the body into parts and then contemplate on each part separately, we don't have the perception of being, I, my, mine concept will vanish from our mind. One of the things we practice, one of the things knowledges or insight we gain from vipassana meditation is the non-self. So the self-notion will completely vanish from our mind when we practice, when we come to this level of mindfulness meditation. 4 elements. And these elements, in Maharahulawada Sutta and many other places, when the Sariputta and Buddha explain these elements, whether they are internal or external, are the same. Internal body is made up of external element, and therefore internal elements are the same as external elements, and so forth. What happened to external elements happens to internal elements, and so forth. He explained these things in detail. And therefore, this is the 4th class of mindfulness of the body. 5th class is even more important. That is where more misunderstanding we can find. That is after death. Because of this different type of understanding, different people do different things to the body after death. In Buddha's teaching, what happened to the body is the same whether you believe in one thing or another. What happened to the body is the same. It decomposes, disintegrates, and rot, reduced to bones, break the bones into pieces, shatters, reduced to dust, and disappear. This is the very natural, normal thing that happens to a body. You have to temporarily forget the belief system, but you have to accept the system of reality that happens to the body. So in order to gain deeper insight into non-self, Buddha taught this meditation as the 6th class of mindfulness of the body. That eventually what will really happen to the body. Friends, this is one of the theme of our meditation retreats. Sometimes I teach 10-day course on the mindfulness of death. Although it is mentioned as a part of Mahasatipatthana Sutta, but this is a subject by itself, mindfulness of the death or dead body. Now, there is a misunderstanding of this also. Some people say you have to see dead bodies to practice this meditation. Therefore, these days you cannot practice it, because you do not see so many dead bodies on the street. It will never happen. Nor can you go to morgue. Everybody cannot go to the mortuaries to see dead bodies. Even if you see dead bodies in the mortuaries, you do not see them decomposing. You see them very beautifully made with a lot of makeup, and sometimes when the body is in the coffin, it looks like somebody coming out of a wedding. Beautiful dress, the beauty. Look at such a smiling face. People say, looking at the corpse in the coffin, they say, see, as if he is sleeping, and so forth. If you read and study what the pathologists do and their assistants do in the morgue, you will really understand what happened to the body. They spend so many hours, days, to make the body look natural. When we die, we don't look beautiful, we look very ugly, and nobody likes to look at it. So therefore they have to take the body into the morgue and then do all sort of things. Mouth is open, they have to use certain things to close the mouth. Sometimes eyes open when we die, so you have to do certain things to close our eyes, and so forth and so on. Lot of things. I read a book, this thick book, where they explain what happened to the body, what the death means, and whether we really die, or when we die, and is it really death, how can we determine the death, and so forth and so on. All these things are explained in the book. Anyway, however, when the body is dead, Buddha said, if it is possible for you to watch a body decomposing in the way the Buddha explained, that's perfectly all right. If not, Buddha used the method which can apply anytime, anywhere to our meditation practice. He used the phrase, Seyyatavi bhikkhave Sivatika chadditam Ekaha matang va Dviha matang va Tiha matang va Uddumatakang Vinilakang Vipubbakajatang So imameva kayang upasangharati Ayampiko kayo Evang dhammo Evang bhavi Evang anatitoti. Let me tell the meaning. He said, as if you see a body dead 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, swollen, turned blue, and disfigured in a cemetery. That means that is the natural thing that happens to the body. And then reflect. Then that means you have to have this image in the mind of a dead body. Not that you really see the body. You have this image in the mind, and then think, this will happen to this body of mine. Imameva kayang upasangharti evang bhavi evang dhammo evang anatitoti. This body is not gone beyond that. This, what I saw, will happen to this body. This body after death will go through this process of decomposition. Without getting scared, upset, disappointed, emotional, just try to see the true nature of the body. That is the last stage of the body, this body. So there are 9 stages that Buddha explained in this particular section. The last stage is the stage where your bones shattered here and there and then turn white, break into pieces, become dust, and then dust will be blown by the air and there will not be anything left. So, body eventually reduces to dust and disappears. This is the true nature of the body. So what this meditation teaches, this mindfulness of the body, is the process and the things that happen to the body, proving that it is impermanent. That it is impermanent. So this impermanence we can see every moment, every time we meditate, not only in one posture, in one place, but all the time. But the last part, you had to have a lot of maturity, emotional maturity, lot of insight, lot of understanding, to have this vision, this understanding of what happened to the body after death. Friends, with this I like to stop talking. I think I don't mind spending few more minutes if you have very burning question, which you want to ask me now, then we can stop this talk. And the other three of the four foundations of mindfulness are even more profound and deep. As I said, I regret that I don't have time to explain all the four foundations. One foundation is enough to, out of these four foundations of mindfulness, first one has divided into 6. One of the 6, the first part itself is enough if he practices mindfully to gain the 7 factors of enlightenment. That is very clearly stated in Anapanasati Sutta. If you practice mindfulness of the body, you will gain the 7 factors of enlightenment. How that happened? Let me say briefly. If you don't have a question, if you have a question, I answer the question. If not, let me explain how that happens. You practice mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of breathing, first part. As I said, mindfulness of the breathing is the mindfulness of body. When you practice mindfulness of body, you practice mindfulness. Day and night you practice mindfulness. Then mindfulness becomes perfect. When the mindfulness becomes perfect, then you have completed the first factor of 7 factors of enlightenment. What is the first factor of, what is the 7 factors of enlightenment? Mindfulness, investigation, effort, joy, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. These are the 7 factors of enlightenment. Of course, when you practice 7 factors of enlightenment, you practice all the 37 factors of enlightenment. That is little detail. I can explain all of them. Unfortunately, we don't have time. But just remember, when you practice mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the breathing, you practice mindfulness. And that mindfulness practice leads to the factor of enlightenment, factor of investigation. What is that? What do you investigate? You investigate the same mindfulness. You investigate the same mindfulness. Now you don't investigate the body. You investigate the mindfulness itself. You can see this in Anapanasati Sutta. I really invite all the serious meditators to read this material. As I said, not like reading a novel or newspaper, but read very seriously, very intentionally, very intensely, to understand the deep meaning of this sutta. So when you practice mindfulness of the body or breathing, you practice mindfulness of the factor of enlightenment, the factor of mindfulness. Then you investigate the mindfulness itself. Then when you investigate the mindfulness itself, you become so energetic. You don't feel sleepy, drowsy, lazy, and lethargic and boring, tiring, because you begin to open your mind deeper, wider, clearer, and you see so many dhamma, deep, profound dhamma, and you become energetic. Unremitting energy arises in you. Not physical hypertension, but mental energy, to see the Dhamma more deeply. And when you see the Dhamma with lot of energy, what happens? You feel so full of joy. Friends, one has to go through this process to see how this joy arises. When you see the Dhamma, as the Buddha said, Dhamma is the truth. When you see the truth, you become full of joy. And you taste the truth. And that is why Buddha said, among the tastes, the tastiest things is the taste of truth. That is not what you have heard. You always have heard that truth is bitter. But Buddha said, among all the tasty things, the tastiest is the taste of truth. Satchang have sadhu tarang rasanang. In Alavaka Sutta, Buddha said, Satchang have sadhu tarang rasanang. Among tasty things, the tastiest is the knowledge of truth. When you taste this truth, you become full of joy. Full of joy. This joy doesn't come from blind faith. Doesn't come from emotion. This is not nervous, excitement. Normally when you have excitement, emotional excitement, you jump up and down, you kiss and hug and laugh and sing and so forth. But when this joy arises, you become tranquil. Tranquil. That is another factor of enlightenment, tranquility. When you are tranquil, you gain concentration. That is concentration factor of enlightenment. When you are tranquil, when you gain concentration, then you become equanimous. That is equanimity factor of enlightenment. When you gain equanimity, then the rest follows very easily. What is the rest? You have nibbida. Nibbida is dispassion. Dispassion does not mean dislike or hate or disappointment and thinking that life is so boring and tiring and miserable, no point in living, let me commit suicide and so forth. Not that kind of negative thing. Dispassion is seeing with wisdom the truth. When you see things with wisdom, then you viraga, non-attachment arises. Viraga vimuchyati, when non-attachment arises, your mind liberates from all kind of psychic irritants. So all this possible even by practicing the first part of 4 foundations of mindfulness. First part of mindfulness of the body. And Buddha repeated this 21 times in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Not in this way, but in Anapanasati Sutta he mentioned it 4 times by understanding the way how he explained this in mindfulness of the breathing 4 times,